WGBF.
The following program is paid for by the Charlie Butler team. Looking for tips on selling your home? Tune into the Charlie Butler Show right here on WGBF AM every Sunday at 9 a.m. The Charlie Butler Show, where your questions get answers. Charlie guarantees it.
Good morning, Tri-State. This is the Charlie Butler Show, and I'm still Charlie Butler. We're here today with my co-host, as always, Churchill Mortgage's David Crow. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, Tri-State. Happy to be here on this good Sunday morning.
And we've also got Mindy Woodward from Keller Williams joining us. We're going to get into something a little different today, because Mindy's a little different, okay?
Just slightly.
And Mindy's a realtor who, for those of you that don't know, I know we have a lot of real estate investors that listen. Mindy deals in foreclosures and works with investors. So, good morning, Mindy.
Good morning. Grateful to be here.
She always has some, we'll just say, interesting stories. So
I have a lot of stories.
But before we get to that, David, we were just talking off the air. So there's still a shortage of homes that are being listed right now. We've got more buyers. It seems like we've been talking about this for years now.
It does seem that way.
I think we have, actually. And Mindy and I talk about this at the office all the time, that there's more buyers than there are sellers. And you know what? I honestly don't understand right now why, because Mindy and I will sit in the office, I'll just be truthful about this, and say, look at what this house listed for, and it might be $100,000 more than it did 2-3 years ago.
So I can comment to this, and ironically, just a friend on Facebook, the mutual friends, the other day, he posted probably just a couple of days ago and said, folks, am I losing my mind? Am I seeing now homes are $400,000, $500,000, $600,000? And so people start commenting, and other loan officers, such as myself, said the market has moved up tremendously. And as I sit here in front of you, there's two thoughts that are going on in my mind. One is just basic supply and demand. Right. When there's not enough supply out there and the demand is pent up the way it is, it'd be like anyone in business. When you've got more demand than product, you start raising the price on your product. Yeah. That's it. And so I've worked with people over the years, worked with small business people, and it's kind of that fundamental thing, even going back to trades, a drywall finisher, a painter. If your demand is so high, you have to start raising your prices. And as a small business owner, you raise your prices until the demand levels out. And all of a sudden, the phone stops ringing. You raise too high, so now you just got to lower it back down. Well, real estate in some ways is very similar. When the demand level is there and the supply is not, prices are simply going up. And I can tell you that on data I just looked at this week, I think it was CoreLogic, and they're coming out with April. I know we're in June. Right. And so you're seeing April figures and estimations on May figures. I think in January nationwide, there may have been a small dip in housing valuation across the nation. However, since that January, February, March, April, forecast for May, prices nationwide are going up. And I feel like for a year over year, because we had a dip in April, May of 2022 briefly. Right. But we're up, I don't know, well over 2% year over year. But the forecast is for values to continue to go up, and it is fueled by low supply. Demand is out there. And so I'm telling everyone I know, if you're thinking about selling your home, right now you need to be contacting a realtor, Charlie Butler team, and getting that home on the market, because the values are sustained. And Charlie, when I was looking at this, in the past we've talked about how some people are sitting on the sidelines, waiting for this bubble to burst. Yep. I'm going to wait for the prices to go down. And everyone in the real estate industry and the lending industry is going, it's not going to happen. No, this is not 2007, 8, 9, and 10. No. This is not it.
No, I mean, unless there's some catastrophic event that we can't see right now. Yes, will they maybe correct a little bit? Yeah, they might correct a little bit, but they're not going to go way back down.
No, because, and we've talked about in past episodes, 7, 8, 9, and 10 were horrible years because of leading into those. There were no regulations on the lending industry that fueled people, unfortunately, getting homes who should have never been approved for a home. So, and then builders were building and everything we overbuilt then. And so we had to go through several years of correction. That's not been the case leading in. I know COVID drove rates down into the 2s and 3s and we're no longer there. But the reality is the people who buy homes and have been buying homes are truly qualified to own those homes and will continue to be able to pay for those homes.
Right. As Mindy could attest as well as anyone, some of her best years in business were as a foreclosure agent were 04, 05, and 06.
Right, absolutely. And it didn't seem to matter the climate of, the financial market. There was enough inventory for everyone and enough foreclosures for investors. So it kind of like evened itself out, and what we've noticed when COVID hit, everything shut down. So the foreclosure market shut down. Nobody had their house on the market. Everything just sort of stopped. So now it's like trickling very little bit here and there. There's a huge backlog of homes that are just sitting empty that haven't gone through the whole process yet. So it's like
zombie foreclosures.
Yeah, all the zombie houses, houses that have been vacant 5, 6, 10 years. Or have just been lived in and not taken care of and hoarded. I mean, we've seen a bunch of that too. So it'll be real interesting how it all kind of plays out with everything going on.
And David, kind of, and with what Mindy does, kind of playing to what you said, because I think a big part of her huge spike in business that time because of lending.
Yes.
We still talk about this. Mindy she'd said to close, and I'd said to close, you could read the settlement statement, and 8 out of 10 times you'd be right. You'd say, these people are going to get foreclosed on. There is no way that they can do this.
Yes, I specifically remember one in particular. We were sitting there, and the people were doing where they had their loan, and then they had a separate loan for their down payment. And they're going through the paperwork, which looked like a foot thick. And I'm sitting there going, they are never going to pay this loan back. Like, there's no way. There is no way.
Too many of those stories with all of us back then.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like as Mindy said, you knew it, but the lenders had to know it too.
I believe they did. And it was I dealt so much in new home construction back then. So the reality, it's a double-edged sword. If the federal law and regulations state this is permitted, then many times as a lender, you never want to run the risk of, quote-unquote, discriminating against someone by not offering them what was 100% legal and available and open to everyone in the market. So when you put that out there and people said, yes, I will do it, and based on the, we'll say loose lending regulations back then, if it qualified, then you were to close a loan. Now, one of the things I've never dealt with was subprime lending back then. Excuse me. But as you were talking about that down payment loan earlier,
yeah,
and you were talking about that second, if you will, some of the interest rates that were associated with some of those seconds were extremely high, but people would look at it and say, no, I can do it. And then, unfortunately, nationwide, it wasn't just that people probably were being qualified for more home they can afford, but when the recession truly hit and then the job losses took place and companies laid off and limited hiring, these people now were sitting in homes that they were challenged to make the payment anyway. Now they're dealing with a job loss. Unemployment income wasn't going to cover it. And they unfortunately couldn't get jobs. And then that was just a huge tsunami from a global standpoint that led to a mass amount of foreclosures. Again, that's not the headwinds we're looking at today.
Well, and the funny thing, it's not funny, but Mindy and I maybe will tell some of these stories at work, and some of these people who weren't in it back then, they're like, you did that stuff, like, you bunch of crooks.
Yes.
Yes. And no, you don't understand. It was legal.
It was 100%. Right. And here's the thing. If you or I didn't do those things then, someone else was.
Yeah.
So when
You're right.
you couldn't look at your client and say, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to offer this to you, because the entire real estate and lending industry as a whole were doing these things. So you would have been foolish to say, I'm not. I would try to counsel people, just as you probably did, but at some degree, when, people are adults. Humans are adults. They make adult decisions. And sometimes as adults, we don't always make great decisions, and then we pay the consequences. Life goes on.
I always tell people, and it's the, and I truly believe this, they may ask, what do you think? I said, well, about the house. I said, I'll tell you what I think. But remember, this closes everything. I'm glad to help you where I can, but I'm not going to be here to pay the mortgage payment.
Yeah, you've got to be able to afford that.
Yes, you've got to like it.
Yes,
but
personal budgets.
But Mindy, David has had some. You've had a rash of hoarders lately in the foreclosure
It seems
side.
like it, yes.
So describe that.
Describe a hoarder situation.
Yeah. We're looking for stories, Mindy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had one in Santa Claus, believe it or not, in Christmas Lake.
In the gated
Gated
part.
community.
In
I'm
the
very
gated
familiar.
part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, worst house on the whole block. The lady who worked in the office, her parents lived across the street, so they were very aware
Of the
that
situation.
this house
there.
was there. The lady had been moved to a home. She'd never let anyone in there for over 3 years. When I went in, the pile of stuff was over my head. I'm 5'5". It leaned up against, there was a fireplace in the living room. It leaned up against it. There was a little bitty path that went through the house. It was just in every room.
So it was just a corn maze
Of
stuff and debris
Yes.
leading throughout the home.
It was so hoarded in the very back bedroom, it had actually popped the wall outward.
I was waiting to hear that.
Settlement crack went all the way across. The first field service company that went to clean it out got 4 dumpsters in and said, we quit. We can't do it.
Oh, my goodness.
They got the second crew in finally. They started cleaning it and the floor collapsed in the back of the
goodness.
house.
From the
So
weight of what was-
from the weight of what was under or on top of it, and there was actually stuff shoved in the crawl space. So when we went over there, it looked like the wall was levitating.
Oh, my
It
goodness.
dropped 2 feet into the crawl space.
So the wall was still there because it's attached to the rafters, the
Yeah.
trusses and stuff above,
Yeah.
top plates.
But the actual floor was-
dropped below and the wall's just hanging
It was
there
just
now.
floating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mindy has an easy job.
So, but it actually gets better. I mean, how
gets better.
how it came out even, So
So it ended up where a guy who they do repairs for inspections, he bought it with his company, fixed it up, and resold it for like, I don't know, $280, something like that.
Well, of course, because it's in a great neighborhood.
Yes.
I mean, it's, great gated
Yeah.
neighborhood
Yeah.
there. So the reality is, and that's what I see as well, investors who have their own personnel and company, they are getting great opportunities to go in and quickly go in with their own staff and renovate the home and get it right back on the market at great quality at a great value to them.
Absolutely. And it's also fun when you call the town, the county, whoever, and you give them the address and they go, oh, yeah, we know all about it.
So,
And Jordan just reminded me that you are listening to the Charlie Butler Show, and with David Crow and Mindy Woodward. And if you can't, and for those who can't listen right now, we are on many different places, including Apple Music, Google Play. What's Amazon's called, Jordan?
Amazon, I forgot, but I listened to it on Spotify. So on my way to Chicago this past week, I actually listened to last week's episode.
Oh, when Ryan
was in here covering for me, I pulled it up on Spotify and all past episodes, everything else on Spotify. Just look up the Charlie Butler Show.
Yeah, you can.
awesome.
And so it's Spotify, and then you can go to WGBFAM.com.
Correct, and all the episodes are on there as well. So pretty much anywhere people can listen to podcasts or anything along those lines, they can check out the Charlie Butler Show on there.
Yeah, somebody told me, a friend of mine, an agent on the East Coast, that he had pulled it up, and listened to it. So also, and our sponsors, of course, Churchill Mortgage And we've got David Crow right here from Churchill and the good folks at Bossy Title who have already closed one for us this morning, actually. So,
and I'll be meeting with them. 1
That's
o'clock.
right.
I know we're taping, but
1 o'clock.
a little later today, and then Bossy Title will be closing another one.
No, they're not open on Sunday.
Yeah, I know.
We're taping today. Mindy, the one that popped in my head, and you always get associated with foreclosures, but you work with a lot of investors too.
Yes.
And I guess we should leave names out of this one, but Mindy and I went and looked at a house on, where were we at? Middle Mount Vernon, Upper Mount Vernon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Middle Mount Vernon. Yeah.
You want to tell that story? Because that's about like a foreclosure story almost.
I mean, it was pretty close. So we have a long-term investor, and him and a couple partners had bought this house at sheriff's sale. And it was one of those situations where the lady was buying it on contract. She thought she was going to lose it. She starts crying. He feels bad. So he buys this house, which was a really bad idea.
And they'd never seen the house, but they said it's $40,000. Oh, it's $40,000. No big deal.
It's okay. Like, we've owned it. It's fine. So he decides, I'm going to sell it. Well, she hasn't paid him in like 18 months.
Something like that.
We go over there. So first of all.
Well, he tells us, remember he tells us, he said, I've got the only house with an indoor car wash.
Indoor car wash.
And
we're like, what do you mean?
Indoor car wash. I'm going to look at, Jordan and I are looking at each other right now with our eyebrows way up going, an indoor car wash.
The lady's son, according to him, and it was close if it wasn't correct, weighed about 600 pounds.
Oh, Lord.
And so they took a bedroom and turned it into a shower so he could get into the shower.
Yes.
Gotcha.
He was also in a motorized wheelchair.
Right.
Yeah.
So
y'all are talking about some really odd stories, and I'm loving this. First, we went from hoarders to an indoor car wash.
Oh, we
600 pounds. I feel like we're making TLC episodes right now.
we really.
And now in this episode, did that just happen?
And if we went over the 20-some years that Mindy's been doing this, we would be here.
I've got all kinds of stories, but so we go to the property. Now it's on 2 acres, and there's a pond in the front. But it looks like a house that they added onto like 3 times, and then put a garage on the end with an attic area.
And Mindy, one thing you may want to add there is, okay, these 2 investors, the third one just said, I'm not having to do with it. You guys do so. But the 2 others, and they both, each would take turns every 6 months. They'd say, okay, it's your turn now. You got to collect the rent. You can't get rid of them. So he just put it off. The other one said, it's your turn now.
Yeah, they would just go back and forth. Well, you go first. Okay, no, I can't get anything. Okay, now it's your turn. And okay, is it my turn or his turn? It was like they couldn't figure out who was in charge.
And neither one wanted to do it because it was an older lady and her son.
The empathy factor kicks
Oh,
in,
yeah.
which is
So
also a business factor.
She's older. She has COPD. Her son lives there. He's in the wheelchair. The daughter's there she's just hanging out. And the husband's there. He's like in a sling. They're like, we'll just leave him here. He doesn't do anything anyway. It's like,
they said he's not working anymore. We'll just leave him here.
we'll just leave him here.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it was just like, and they had every animal I could ever have imagined in every room, and dog in this room, and cats over here. And so basically, they went through the court. They got him evicted. We put it on the market and somehow got like 3 offers within a day.
Wow.
The guy who bought it owned the property behind it, fixed it up, and sold it for like $300,000.
Oh, my goodness.
And we'll just say he paid a fraction of that. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't pay
That's
anywhere
very
near
small
that.
fraction, yeah. And in fact, he wouldn't even pay that much because one of the guys said, just put it on the market, whatever you can get it. And they would say, no, let's ask this. And they asked a little bit more, and they got it. But it's like it just dropped the bucket.
You're reminded.
And to the guy, of course, he did a lot of work, obviously. Yeah.
So, there's investor opportunity out there all the time.
Yeah.
But you also made me think something. Speaking of Dave Ramsey, who recommends Churchill Mortgage, I was watching a reel the other day, and you guys know this. And he said, he's owned, I don't know how many thousands of real estate.
Right.
But he said for the intro person, the average person that says, oh, I'm just going to, I'm going to buy me a rental and I'm going to make lots of money off of it. He said, the first thing you got to understand is if you think the renter is always going to make your mortgage payment, you've got another thing coming.
Yep.
And so there are many people who are blessed get into investments, rentals, and do very well and don't have headaches. But when you hear stories like this, and I've heard a lot of stories too, you as an investor, you've got to be prepared for the guy or gal that moves in and never makes the payment. And then, as you mentioned, Mindy, going through the court system.
Right.
And then, God help you when you actually get back in the home legally and what's left in there. So it just made me think that the average person really needs to do their homework and have a little bit of a piggy bank saved up there too.
Absolutely. And we've Mindy and I have seen this many times where people get in it and they don't have any reserves.
It's a little scary.
Yes.
And some things go wrong and there's nothing to do. I mean, they just don't have the money to fix it. Property sits there. They've got payments to make on it. And of course, it turns bad from there.
I mean, there's people with a lot of vision. Like, I would consider myself someone with a lot of vision, but I also am realistic in knowing there are times when you just can't, or you just have to stop. I mean, we see it a lot. Charlie and I have stories of people that buy houses in the historic neighborhood. And they're like, I'm going to fix it up and do this. And they put like $100,000 and $150,000 into it. And you can't tell the difference because there's so much work. It's like, you got to think about what you're doing.
Yes.
There's a lot more to it than what you see on television.
The first
every contractor in America.
I know.
Quit watching this.
It's not Property Brothers, okay?
Yeah, they do all of it, and they show those budgets at the end. It's like, we did all this for $749 or something crazy. And you're like, no, you didn't.
And then as a loan officer, you're probably thinking about the people that said, well, I'm a dog groomer, and I work part time chasing bees or something.
Exactly.
And we've got a budget. We've got a budget of $500,000. Like, who's removing you?
Yeah, who are these people?
Yes. No, those are, I guess, all of us in the industry, and that's why I even pull contractors into that comment. You see some of this stuff on TV, and we all sit back and go, No, that's not the way it plays out. That's good TV, but that's not reality we all live in. So
for years there was and I haven't been on. I don't know if it's still out there or not, but I used to be. I guess I'm still a member of it. But there was a private Facebook page about HGTV. and when one of those shows would be on, somebody would be out there. Come on, if you just don't put balloons out, put an open house sign out, and then the damn house sells. It just don't work that way.
I've never shown just 3 houses and then they picked one. That's never happened to me.
No, it's so great story. You know what I just realized, Jordan? We have such a good time on here. We're supposed to, and you're supposed to remind us to tell people how to contact us.
Oh yeah, he did.
I was going to say, I don't know.
It is. He did.
We just have fun on here.
So, David, for anybody, one thing that any realtor should be telling people, and sort Mindy and I, of course, would, and hopefully our whole team does, is that to call you and get pre-approved. Call your loan officer and get pre-approved. And David, how can they get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is cell phone number. Every one of our industry, we operate off our cell phones. So my cell phone is 270-222-0676, or you can go to churchillmortgage.com, search for a branch. Or loan officer being David Crow. And it's going to pop up right now, Owensboro, Kentucky. But I'm servicing Owensboro, Henderson, Evansville, Newburgh, all of Western Kentucky and Southern Indiana. And so that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Now, I'll say this, and I know you all would agree. As a realtor, you want buyers who are pre-approved.
Absolutely.
I had a realtor yesterday that sent me a family member, okay? And he said, I want to know, can she really buy a home? And he said, I don't want to waste my gas money and time. I love her. She's family, but I've told her, and he made a comment. He said, because it's the family, and he said, he talked to his dad and said, Dad, the rules don't change for her. I need to know if she's pre-approved. Yeah. And so she finally returned my phone call, and I'm getting her pre-approved. One of the things I want to say in the open market with me and Churchill Mortgage, you become a certified home buyer, which means I get your information, I take you through the underwriting process, and you are fully approved by an underwriter, and we offer what's called Rate Secure, which means I can lock you into a Rate Secure program for 90 days and say this will be the highest rate you will have. So if rates go up in this volatile market we're in right now, you are not going up there. You're capped out at this level. And if rates go down when you find a home, you actually get the lower rate. So
that's a good deal.
That's a great deal. So people know up to a certain price point at the worst case scenario rate, here's my monthly payment. And that allows them and their realtor to go out and be able to strongly make offers that quite honestly can compete with some cash offers out there, because we're not going to get them approved later. They're 100% approved running around. So that is where many realtors are sending their people to me so that I can turn them into certified home buyers with their rate locked in, and they're out shopping, and in a limited supply inventory, it makes them a strong buyer who's making offers in the market. But yeah, love to help anyone that's listening right now.
And Mindy, how can I get a hold of you?
Cell phone is 812-483-1309. You can also email me, Mindy M, like Mary, at kw.com.
And Mindy also, then if you're scared about having Mindy come to your house after some of the stories you've heard, Mindy also is very good at doing what we call regular people, I guess. So,
Regular people.
Normal people.
Normal people. And also something we should bring up is that Mindy also has her Kentucky license.
Yes, I'm licensed in Kentucky and Indiana.
And I'm going to step back and give not only gratitude for that, because we just had a closing not too long ago, but a shout out to you, because I work with a lot of realtors on both sides of the Ohio River. And there's a lot of them sitting in Kentucky that wish they could sell in Indiana, and a lot in Indiana that wish they could sell in Kentucky. And due to, what's the word, reciprocity?
Yep.
They can't. So if you're somebody looking on both sides of the river, it sounds like Mindy is definitely somebody who can help you, because I understand that struggle with many realtors right now.
Mindy and I are the only two people on our team of 13, I think. Now, Mindy and I are each licensed in both states.
That's great. That's a huge benefit.
Also, Charlie Butler team, 812-430-1708. If you need to talk, you can reach me on my cell phone also, which is 812-499-7758. And as far as listings go, there is not a better time to list right now. And just to, if we can't sell your home, we'll buy it. So we'll come in, give you an offer right off the bat.
Charlie, that's awesome.
Yeah. We've got, and we will. We'll guarantee cash offers. Now, I'm not going to say I'm not going to lie to people, tell them I'm going to pay retail, because I'm not. But if they just want to go on, and we'll give them a fair wholesale price. I'm
going to say, and giving kudos to Charlie on that. In this day, I've listened to Charlie and other realtors that many times people, with what you're willing to offer them, they're comfortable and say, let's do it.
They've got a lot of equity. They're comfortable many times.
Exactly. They're ready to move on with life. They don't want to go through the hassle of people coming in other homes.
Yeah.
And that number works for them, and it works for you.
Yes.
So everybody's in a true win-win situation. And so, folks, if you're out there and you're debating, should I list or should I just have someone buy, definitely give Charlie a
And
just do it.
And quite honestly, we advertise that and have for a long, but almost always the way the market is, you sell the house for more money. We've actually got people that Mindy and I deal with. We've got one guy I can think of in particular. He will list the house for less money than he knows it's worth, just to see how much over full price it'll go.
Wow.
We suggest prices to him. He already has a number in mind, and we always go with what he says, and it usually sells for over that.
The bidding war starts.
Yeah, and it's and while people say it's slowed down, has it slowed down? Probably a little, but where I say it's slowed down is there may not be 3 offers the first day.
Or the first hour.
Or the first hour. Yeah, thank you. But it takes, they say it takes 2 weeks to sell your house now. Big deal.
Great.
Somebody called me the other day that we'd had their house listed for like 3 days. And I said, look, a couple of years ago, if I'd sold it in 2 weeks, I'd been a rock star.
Oh, rock star hero.
Today, you're already talking about, lowering the price. It hadn't been that long ago. The average time was 90 days on the market.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you put it on, and it was several months before you sell your home. And
oh, yeah. If we could sell it in 3 months, we were rock stars.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now, the moral of the story is we need more homes. Get those homes listed.
Jordan's telling us to wrap it up. Mindy, can you come back with us next week?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
All right. So for Mindy Woodward, David Crow, this is Charlie Butler. Have a great Sunday.
You've got real estate questions but don't know where to get the answers? Tune in here every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. as Charlie Butler, Evansville's own real estate expert, shares the latest news, info, and insider tips to help you make smart real estate decisions. Find him online at charliebutlerteam.com. This program has been paid for by the Charlie Butler Team.
WGBF.